Hey guys, I recorded this once and it already deleted, so I'm going to go through it again. So factoring with bubble method, day 1, factor polynomials with leading coefficients greater than 1. So up to this point, we've only used coefficients of 1, leading coefficients. And all the terms are positive. So the two signs that you're going to have are going to be plus, plus. Okay, let's go. Okay, you might want to pause this to make sure you get these down. But first, we're going to identify the sum, which is the middle coefficient, and the signs that you'll need. So this week, before this, or last week, we've been working with terms that look like this: x squared plus 5x plus 6. So this is telling you that the sum, the middle term, would be 5. And then here, remember, if this is a plus, it tells you same signs. If it was a minus, it meant different signs. Okay, then you're going to list let's try it again. List all factor pairs for the leading coefficient. 3 is you're going to list all factor pairs for the constant. You're going to check the bubbles to find the correct combination, then you're going to write your answer out as 2 binomials. Okay, again, you should pause that if you need to get those down. Those are the important steps for this. Okay, so here it says we need to, we're going to fill out these parts of our thing. So what's the sum needed? So remember that sum comes from that second term. So our sum here is 11. Signs needed, we look here. This tells you they're the same sign. This one tells you what the sign is. That tells you that they're both going to be plus, plus, plus. Okay, so we're going to look and see how we can factor 2 and 5. That's our leading coefficient and our constant term. The only way you can factor 2 is 1 and 2. The only way you can factor 5 is 1 and 5. We put these in bubbles. That's what these are. That's why we call it the bubble method. And then here comes how we check it. So we're going to write out how we multiply these down. So 1 can either partner up with 1. So you end up with 1 times 1, which is 1. And 2 can partner up with 10, or 5. So 2 times 5, which is 10. We can add those together and we get 11. So we see that that's the one we actually want. I don't have to go any further, but we could have tried 1 times 5 and 2 times 1. So this part here is your first part. That goes into your first spot of your binomial, so the two factors that we have. So we end up with 1x and 2x. Okay. We know that based on this, they're both going to be pluses. And then the second part, the important thing is, if they are joined by a line, they can't be in the same set of parentheses. So 1 and 1 are joined by a line, so I have to put the 1 way over here. And 2 and 5 are joined by a line, so I have to put these 2 in separate parentheses as well. Another way of looking at it is doing the smiley face. So 1 times 1, 1 and 1 are these outer parentheses. 2 and 5, they're the inner parentheses. So remember, this is that double distributive property. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like a smiley face and then a nose. And that's what this one's talking about. So you can double check to make sure that you form those little smiley faces and noses, or little upside down rainbows, whatever you want to call them, to make sure that you get there. Okay, let's try our next one. Okay, our next one says sum needed. Remember that sum comes from that middle term. So that's going to be that 19. Signs needed. This tells you same sign. This tells you they're both going to be pluses. So plus, plus. Okay, so what multiplies to give me 5? You know, it's just going to be 1 and 5. What multiplies to give me 12? Well, now we have a couple options. We have 1 and 12. We have 2 and 6. Or you have 3 and 4. Okay, so with this, you have to be careful with how you check them. I'm going to write them over next to each other to do this. I'm going to put my seat up, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to write them next to each other. You might want to hold off. It's up to you. So as we go through each pair, I'm going to write them over here. So we have 1 and 12. And then now we're going to test it. So we have 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 12. That gives me 60. 60 plus 1 is 61. That is not going to give me that 19. So I know this one won't work. So our other option is to do the crisscross of this instead of the straight through. So we have 1 times 12. Just 12. 5 times 1. which is 5. 12 plus 5 is 17. That is not going to work either. So we know 1 and 12 is not going to be the factor of this one. So I'm going to erase that, and then I'm going to try another bubble. So I'm going to go over. Let's do 2 and 6. So I have 1 times 2, which is 2. 5 and 6. That's 30. Gives me 32. Not going to be what I'm looking for. So let's go across again, and we'll crisscross it. 1 times 6, which is 6. 5 times 2, you can see where this is going, is 10. 16, not going to work. So I can erase those. I can rule out that bubble. So now I'm left with 3 and 4. 3 and 4. I'm going to try 1 times 3, which is 3. 5 times 4, which is 20. So that's going to be 23, not 19. Okay, so we're going to try the crisscross version. 1 times 4, which is 4. 5 times 3, that's 15. We add those together, it gives me 19. Yay! Finally, sorry that took us so long. So our first parentheses in our second set, so our binomials, remember these and this one are our first terms, so they go in as 1x and 5x. This tells me what my signs have to be, so plus, plus. And then we have to look at this. And so we have 1 is connected to the 4, so they can't be in the same set. So that means this one has to be the 4. 3 is connected to the 5. That means they can't be in the same set, so this one has to be a 3. We can verify that by looking at our smiley face. 1 times 4. 1 and 4 are connected with the line. 1 and 4 are connected with our smiley face. 3 and 5 are connected with the nose. 3 and 5 are connected with the line. So those match up, and that works out for us. Yay. Okay, let's try our next one. So again, well, I guess it's not again. In our last video that I recorded that ended up not saving, our key word today was tomato. So when you do your Google form, remember to write down the word tomato. Okay, example 3 got cut off a little bit, but that's okay. So sum needed is 26. Comes from our middle term. This tells me we're going to have the same signs. This tells me they're both going to be plus. So plus, plus. Okay. So factors of 5, same as we've had all this time, 1 and 5. Only way to make 5. And then 24, we have options of 1 and 24. Let me try writing again. It's really struggling, so give me 1 second. 1 and 24, or 2 and 12, or 3 and 8, or 4 and 6. I'm going to put bubbles around each of those pairs. Okay, let's start trying some of these out. Okay, so 1 and 24. We have 1 times 1, which is 1. 5 times 24. I believe that's 120. But either way, it's too big to add together to get 26. So I tried this first, the straight method, the straight across. Now we're going to try the crisscross. So we have 1 times 24. That gives me 24. 5 times 1, which is going to give me 5. 24 plus 5 is 29. That's not going to work. So we know this one's not a good choice. Okay, let's try my next one up. 2 and 12. Okay, 1 times 2. That's 2. 5 times 12. That's 60. 60 plus 2 is 62. Not going to work. Let's try crisscross. One times 12 is 12. 2 times 5 is 10. So that gives me 22. We're getting closer, but that doesn't work as well. So we know this one's not going to be in our option. So let's move on to our next one. Okay. 3 and 8. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 8 is 40. We know that's not going to work. Okay, let's crisscross it. 1 times 8 is 8. 5 times 3, 15. 15 plus 8, that's 23. We're getting close still, but not where we're hoping to be at. So we know this one's not going to be our option. So we know that some pairing of the next one has to work for us. So let's try it. So we have 4 and 6. We have 1 times 4, be 4. 5 times 6, 30, not going to work. That gives me 34, and I'm looking for 26. So let's verify crisscross, make sure we didn't make a mistake. 1 times 6, 6. 5 times 4, 20. We add those together. Woohoo! We got it. It's going to give me 26. So we have our binomials here. Our two factors are going to multiply together. Our first ones are going to be that 1x and 5x. We know they're both going to be pluses based on this portion right here. And then again, remember, they cannot match up with the ones that they are, you can't have the ones with the lines connecting them in the same parentheses. So the one's connected to the 6, so it has to go in the other parentheses. The 5's connected to the 4, so it has to go in the other parentheses. So we're going to draw this out using our smiley face to verify. 1 times 6, 1 times 6, those are connected here. 4 times 5, 4 times 5, and we arrive here with this being our correct answer. We have 2 more examples, guys, so let me know if you have any other questions. So we need to identify our sum. Well, our sum's that middle term still, so that's that 40. Signs needed. This tells me it's going to be the same sign. Tells me it's going to be the same sign. I don't know why it's cutting out so bad, guys. I apologize. So, and this tells me they're both going to be pluses, so plus, plus. Okay. So we have our factors, which are going to be things that multiply to 3. So 3 is 1 and 3, only way to get 3. Over here we have 100. There's a couple ways to get to 100. 1 and 100. 2 and 50. 3 doesn't do it, but 4 and 25. 5 and 20. And then the next one would be 10 and 10. Okay. So let's start by looking at this before I do anything. I can do what I've been doing and test all of our solutions. It's a good way of doing it. We kind of call that like the brute force method. We're going to keep doing it until we get the correct one. We do all the options. Or we call it by exhaustion. That's another way we phrase it in math. But when I look at this, I know the first one has big numbers. So 1 times 100 is 100. 3 times 100 is 300. So either way, you have 100 plus when you multiply by 100. So that one would be bigger than 40. The same thing's going to happen with the next one. If you have 50 times 1, it's 50, which is already bigger than the 40. Or 3 times 50 is 150. It's already bigger than the 40. So I don't really need to test those because 50 doesn't make a good option. But I can test the next group. So let's go up here. I'm going to go with 4, 4, and 25. Okay, those are ugly, but we're going to try it. 1 and 4 is 4. 3 and 25 is 75. Too big, not going to work. So I can erase that little guy. Now we can do the crisscross. 1 and 25 is 25. 3 and 4 is 12. That gives me 37, not 40. Okay, so we know this one's not going to work out for us. Let's go on to our next one. Okay, we're going to go 5 and 20. So 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times 20 is 60. Okay, that's too big. Okay, so let's try our crisscross. 1 times 20 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15. Gives me 35, not quite 40. So we know this one's not going to be one that's going to work. But the next one's kind of cool. Both of our factors are the same thing, 10 and 10. So the crisscross and the actual one are going to be the straight across one are going to be both the same. So we end up with 1 times 10, which is 10. 3 times 10 is 30. You add those together and you get 40. We see that's what we've been looking for this whole time. So we end up with that first term being 1x and 3x. The second one is going to be our other parentheses. We know they can't go together, but they're both the same thing here. So we have plus 10, plus 10. We can verify by having 1 times 10. You see that they're connected here. 1 times 10, 3 times 10. You see that they're connected here. And we see that this is our correct answer. Okay, last example coming up next. Okay, number 5, our last example. So our sum has to be 27. Our signs, this tells me same sign. This tells me they're both plus, so it's going to be plus, plus. Okay, factors of 7. This pen's really going out, guys. I'm so sorry. Okay, maybe I'll try doing it with my finger instead. I'll try to order it on Amazon tonight. Okay, so we have 7, which is 1 and 7. Or our other number is 18. So that's 1 and 18. 2 and 9. Or 3 and 8. Not 6, Jenkins. 3 and 8. Okay, we're going to test these out. You know the drill. I'm going to put them up next to each other. So we have 1 and 18. So 1 times 1 is 1. 7 times 18 is going to be something really big. We can do it, but there's really no need. It's not going to add to give me 27. So we can try the next one. 1 times 18. And we can do 7 times 1. So 18, 7. So that gives me 25. Close, but not what I'm looking for. So I know this one's not going to work. Let's try our next one. Let's go with this color. Okay, it's 2 and 9. Okay, 1 times 2. 2. 7 times 9. 63. Gives me 65. That's too big. So let's try the crisscross version of that one. 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 7, 14. Gives me 23. Not what I'm looking for. So I'm on to my last option again. Okay. Gives me 3 and 8. 1 times 3 is 3. 7 times 8 is 56. Too big. So let's see that we did this right by testing out the crisscross version. 1 times 8 is 8. 7 times 3 . Okay, 7 times 3, 7, 14, 21. So I must have done something wrong. Give me 1 second to figure it out. Okay, I'm really sorry about that. So remember earlier when I was like, silly Jenkins, you wrote the wrong number? No, really, I wrote the right number, and I was just now being forgetful. This number should have been a 6. I'll write that in red. So that way you can see the error. Okay, now this makes more sense. I was like, man, just worked this problem out on our last video and it was fine. But now we can try it out again. So let's do 1 times 3 is 3. 7 times 6 is 42. Gives me 45. That's too big. So let's try the crisscross. 1 times 6 is 6. 7 times 3 is 21. And that gives me 27. That's the one I was looking for. So my answers here is going to be 7x and 1x. Remember, it can't be in the same parenthesis with the one that's connected to by lines. So the 1 is connected to the 6, so they can't be in the same spot. So this one is going to be the 6. The 7 is connected to the 3. So it means they can't be in the same spot. So this one has to be the 3. We can verify it with our lines. 7 is connected to the 6 to make, or 7 is connected to the 3 to make that big smiley face. 7 is connected to 3 here to make that big smiley face. 1 is connected to the 6 to make it that little nose. 1 is connected to the 6 to make that little nose. Sorry about that last error. I'm glad we could figure it out. Please let me know if you have any other questions.